Good morning, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other interdimensional entities and all sentient beings. In fact, in the Ojibwe language, bonjour. Welcome to Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's another miserable, rainy, wet, dreary, foggy morning. It's foggy out there. So the skies are kind of a grey mixed with a very faint hue of maybe a little tiny bit of yellow. Kind of looks a bit like pus. I'm not happy about this, but there's nothing we can do. It's the weather. What do Crowded House sing? Kiwis like me, New Zealanders like me, always take the weather with you. And if the weather's not all that pretty, you just have to ride through it like a queen, or in your case maybe a king, of your own destiny and sail on through. We're so spoilt here in Brisbane, Australia. I mean, hasn't been a very nice space for me to live in for almost 37 years, but I came here for the wonderful sunshine and weather, and most of the time it's hot, too hot. So I've had to weather that kind of increasing frogs and boiling water climatic effects. So now we have lots and lots of rain. Well, they did predict we were going to get lots and lots of rain, so it's probably going to hang around for a few more days. Maybe. Let's just be positive. Post person has arrived. Has she got anything for me? Yes. She's smiled up, so I'll go out to her because she's a lovely woman. I'll be back one moment. I'll go and get my mail. Do I need ID? All right, Bobby. Oh, she really is. She really is a wonderful woman. She said, "How are you?" I said, "Wet." And I've got a bit of a chutzpah to complain, people of Earth, since I'm dry in my house, actually. I said, "You're looking a bit wet." She said, "Wet pants, wet knickers, out in the rain, postal worker." I said, I tell you what, though, I said, no matter what happens, you're still smiling. She said, apparently it's going to be even more rain tomorrow. I better get my bloody groceries on me. For fuck's sake. I've been putting it off all week. Apparently there's going to be a lot more rain tomorrow. As much rain falling as Cyclone Alfred. So she says, I'm working out on that again tomorrow. I said, well, whatever happens, I said, we'll soldier through. Well, she's working for a living, getting paid, but what a difficult job riding a little scooter bike out in the pissing bloody rain. Anyway, as I said, she's handling it well. She's a lovely woman. There are lovely people out here, planet Earth, keeping everything churning along. Yes, they get paid and yes, they work hard, but it's all happening in a far out way. Right, my casting grain arrived. Happy Mama Tea now. I can use that for when I next melt some silver and keep it at its hallmark of sterling silver and avoid porosity and cooking on gas, babies. Anyway, right, where were we? I can't remember what I was saying before my lovely postal lady arrived. What was I dithering and blathering on with? I don't know. Can't have been all that important. So I had a sip of my tea and carry on reading to you from Flying with Shamans. Because if you're going to fly with us shamans, because, well, some of us way more powerful than my own self. I'm only a shaman predicated on the fact that I've died and come back to life 15 times in this incarnation. That qualifies me to be a shaman because I've had the initiation from the spirit world. But I'm not really a shaman in that I'm powerful and I can completely heal everyone I meet and that I have that kind of power. I mean, I do occasionally healings on people, but I don't guarantee that it'll actually do anything because fear of failure, fear of success, like I have struggled with everything. But I was asked to put some healing energy, into a friend last year, and he was very appreciative of that. So sometimes the healing isn't even really so much a spiritual healing. It's just pouring love into someone and with full-blown intention behind it, wanting them to be the best version of themselves and to recover from their whatever illness they're enduring at that time. So there are many forms of healing. Sometimes I'm healing just by raving on, mad meandering circles on my YouTube. I've been laughing at myself about that. Why are you doing that, Tanya Adams? It's just so pointless. You could be channeling your energies into doing things that generate some kind of an income. But look, it's a healing, sometimes both ways, for my viewers and for me. So in some things you can't put a price tag on. I mean, you could if you were a greedy, corrupt motherfucker. There's people that do put price tags on what I do for free out in the multiverse. But some things are more valuable than gold. Love and pure heartfelt healing intentions and channeling energy, through from the multiverses. It can be very, very valuable indeed, and cherished and appreciated by those who understand what it is they're receiving. And I adjure you, any powerful positive intentions or enlightenments or upliftments of your spirit that you may receive from these stories or my reading to you, please pay it forward to someone who's also struggling, because that's the fabric, the currency of the universe, to share your gifts with others and to uplift them. And sometimes pick them up by the scruff of their neck and give him a little shake like a mother dog with a puppy. Because we all get lost along our way sometimes and need a mild adjustment. Not violently, not in a violent, awful way, but just a little tweak here and there to say, do you think that's a good idea, the path you're on right now? Do you think that's going to bring you happiness in the long term, or safety, or sanguinity? Just every now and then. Well, I'm kind of that kind of shaman because having grown up with immense abuse as a child and a young woman, if I think someone needs a little bit of a spiritual adjustment, that gets delivered too. Doesn't make me very likeable. In fact, there's many people out in the world, especially my Jewish community here in Brisbane, that literally hate my guts to this day because if I saw something being said and done that I thought was wrong and against natural law, I would say so. And I was very unpopular. Also for having this very German Slavic looking face was a trigger for many people, which I comprehend. I do. You know, thousands of years of intergenerational trauma will make someone very frightened of the other, especially when the other looks like the other that used to slaughter their people. But I mean, I have to laugh in a way, because I didn't deserve the level of othering I received here in Brisbane, and I'm certainly not one to want to slaughter any people, including my own Jewish people. So it's ironic how I was vilified back in 1989 to 1992, and again in 2020 at a very important meeting. Very fucking ironic, given it was a meeting for the installment or development or creation of the Holocaust Centre here in Brisbane. So it's why I'm a shaman though. So take no shit, take no prisoners if I go to war on your head, by the way. Not out to slaughter anyone, but if you do the wrong thing against myself or other people and other humans for no other reason but that you're an entitled, elitist, narcissistic psychopath, then you come up against the Tanya and it's not pretty. And I'm very qualified to fight that battle because I was raised by people like that. Very, very well grounded in that. That's why I crave to this day safety, peace, a community that vibes with me and treats me with honour and kindness and respects me, and we have fun together, which I have found that community in the dance space in recent years. It's almost as though post-COVID 2020 to 2024, people sort of did a little shake, had a little spiritual tweak, woke up and finally saw me for who I truly am, a woman who fought for you every inch of the way. I'm having difficulties with YouTube removing my comments from pages, which is not okay. I'm actually being targeted again. I wonder why, trying to almost wonder why. What's brewing in our society that they're censoring and shadow banning again? Something's coming, people of Earth. So be ready. Take up your positions in whatever spiritual warfare you're indulging in. On the front lines, be ready, because they're brewing something. The fact they're censoring me tells me everything. Everything. But fear. Face everything and rise up, people of Earth. Right, now, on a happy note, well, this won't be a particularly happy chapter per se, because the title is Tales of Death and Initiation. As one who has literally come very close to dying, or has actually died 15 times. I'm very well initiated, people of Earth. It's astonishing at times, even for my mind to wrap around. This morning, someone wrote a comment. I think it was on Dr. Eamon Hillman's page. I'd written a comment 9 months ago about being visited by the ghost, or the spirit, really, of Sir James Douglas, and some lovely man responded that he was a direct descendant of Robert the Bruce, who was Sir James Douglas's compatriot. They were great friends, and Sir James Douglas wore his heart on a chain and cage around his neck. Actually wore it into the last battle where he was cut to pieces, and took the heart off and threw it into the fray when he realised it was not going to be a battle that he was going to survive. And so anyway, that person commented they were a direct descendant, and then I got to reading through the comments, which I hadn't seen, other people's responses, and so someone pulled me up and said it was the 1300s, not the 1200s. Well, I wasn't technically completely wrong, because Sir James Douglas was born in 1286, so he was born on the tail end of the 1200s. But anyway, I googled it and made sure of the facts, because one must, if you're going to, talk about a historical, real-life figure, you need to keep to the facts. The person's quite right. So I googled it, and yes, he died on the 25th of August, 1330, at the age of 44. So I put that in. I made sure I showed that I'd, double-checked on the information at hand. I don't like to be a liar or give, deliberate misinformation. I like to have the facts, people of Earth. I really really detest people lying to me. So I, as a matter of course, endeavour to not do the same thing by virtue of not having all the facts at hand. And if I don't have all the facts at hand, then I'll simply say, I don't know. Integrity is everything. Attitude is everything, but integrity is everything. So I updated that, and I updated a comment that I've made about whiskey. I said, I think that spirit got angry with me because I asked him when I asked his name, and when he said his name was Black Douglas, he didn't say it, he ran it across my forehead, and I was reading it from, I can't even explain it, my eyes were rolled up and I was reading it as though it was running across my forehead, as though my forehead was a TV screen, like a banner, like a ticker tape. He wrote it across my head, Black Douglas. And then foolishly, because I wasn't actually all that well at that time when I had that visitation, had a mild fever, I said, what, you mean like the whiskey? And the rage and frustration, because I think he really wanted to communicate with me. It was important to him. He'd crossed time and space to come to my bedside, and all I could say to him is, who are you, and is your name the brand of whiskey? Big, massive faux pas, but, that was the only thing I knew about Black Douglas. I didn't know who he actually was. And then when he vanished in a fit of pique and rage and disgust at this foolish woman who didn't know who he was, very much annoyed him. I googled him and found out who he was, and the whole story around, the heart and his association with Robert the Bruce, and even how he came to be called Black Douglas by the English, because he burnt a family to death in their picture. Wasn't very nice, was it? So he was a ruthless warrior. But having said that, that spirit came to me on the 20th of October 2018. I still don't know why exactly. I mean, I have a few ideas. He was wanting me to protect my heart and build my heart back up. He was wanting to show me that, I'm guessing that he was there if I needed protection, so he must have had some tenuous link to an ancestor of mine, and he was showing me that he was available to me. Anyway, one day, as I wrote this morning in the comment section in response to that man saying he was a direct descendant of the Bruce, Sir James Douglas might visit me again, and next time he comes I won't get such a shock because I'll know who he is, and I'll be more sanguine, and I'll say, what message do you bring from the multiverse, Sir James Douglas? And I'll take notice, write it down, store it away for future reference if it doesn't make sense at that point in time. Sometimes when the spirits come to you, apart from being a bit of an ontological shock, their messaging can be a bit cryptic or opaque and not quite make clear sense. It's why when I do open up for trance drummings to communicate with the spirits, I always ask for, first of all, for protection, and second of all, I ask for them to communicate with me in English in a clear and concise manner, because there's nothing worse than getting a whole pile of gobbledygook and then having to spend hours trying to decipher what they were talking about, only to realise at the end of the day that you've just wasted your time on complete, as they say in Yiddish, nourish nonsense. It's very time consuming and frustrating. I had a former friend who was a psych nurse. She had Scottish forebears too, actually, although she was Jewish like me. But she said to me, one of her favourite sayings, which I did really like and I have adopted in my emotional part of me toolkit, is because we were friends for 15 years, it was a long time. Very, very toxic, very, very damaging and toxic. But anyway, 15 years I put up with that shit. But anyway, one of the things she said to me that I did like and I did incorporate into my worldview was, you can't make sense out of nonsense, which means basically you've got to know when to just shake your head, shake it all off and walk away, and find something or someone that does make coherent sense and resonates with you in respectful, honouring ways, by the way. Mama T has spoken. My darlings. Right, so got a little whirlwind journey of meandering there. Let me focus on the story. Chapter 9, Tales of Death and Initiation. My mother slaughtered me. My father ate me. My sister, Marlin, searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, lay them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird. That's me. From The Juniper Tree, fairy tale from the collection of Ludwig Bechstein, or Bechstein. Just wait for this big massive truck to roll on by because I hate the noise of trucks. Right, people of Earth, I need to reheat my tea. It's gone cold already. Oh. Dealt with. Don't have to reheat it now, do I? It's drunk, it's gone, it's in my travelling down my esophagus and reaching my stomach and all that tannin, caffeine. Oh no, never mind. I like tea. The theme of initiation is always connected with the theme of death and dying. It is the initiation onto a spiritual path, the process of the soul's maturation, the dying of the old man, and the resurrection of a new man who has acquired a deeper knowledge of the world's secrets, which, by the way, you may not always be all that conscious of at that point in time. They will unravel almost like a gift that gets layers of paper peeled off and deep down delve into treasure that's hidden beneath, or the newfound gift or ability. It might not be apparent straight away, so it can be a bit astonishing that. Don't always consciously know what's going on or what you've just undergone, people of Earth. I just have to put my there it is, aircon on. Right. It gets so humid and stuffy in this room so quickly, it's quite odd. Probably all the asbestos holding everything in like a heat chamber. Oh, I need a house that breathes. Well, anyway. It's a bit like the Three Little Pigs story, you know, with the big bad wolf and the house that was made of sticks, and then a house that was made of straw, and each time the wolf said, "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," each house got easily demolished. But the third little pig built a house of bricks and stone that was solid, and the wolf blew and blew and blew himself out. So, anyway, why'd I go into that? I must practice acceptance and gratitude. I've lived in this house for, in 2 months' time, as of the 5th of May, it will be 22 years. So, yes, sometimes I find it a bit stifling now, but 22 years is a long time to remain in one place and stabilise oneself and heal oneself and grow back from the years when my children and I were driven and harried and threatened from house to house to house. So this is sacred space gifted to me by the government to provide me a measure of safety, even in these very crazy inverted times. I've been relatively safe here. There's still been a few things that went awry, but most of the time I've been safe here compared to 25 years ago, 25, 27 years ago, 30 years ago. It took me a long, long time to heal from that. In fact, to be honest, I'm not completely healed from it. But anyway, on we go. Many researchers of fairy tales have the opinion that fairy tales have been created as a description of initiation rituals. Could be, you know. The traditional apprenticeship of a shaman in every culture includes the ritual of initiation, meaning in the most diverse ways one and the same essence, the ritual, death. The body of the initiate is dissected by the spirits, the flesh decomposed, and the bones reassembled, as in the story of Isis and Osiris. Although they're more than just shamans, they were actual gods, so there was that. But I'm just thinking about, in the frame of reference, how he was chopped into all these pieces and Isis had to reunite all his pieces to bring him back to life again. Only then, embodying a new life and new abilities, can the shaman to-be succeed in communicating with the spirits and deliberately travel the worlds, heal the sick, and see into the hidden. The adventurous way of the hero or the heroine in this fairy tale almost always ends with a wedding. Yes, that's true. They almost always end with happy ever after, the prince and the princess uniting, or the king and queen uniting. The merging of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, I guess. Bringing home those parts of yourself that you've cut off from yourself. At first sight, this does not seem to be related to the culture of shamanism, but a careful reading of some Asiatic inlanders' reports about a shaman's initiation, the wedding, could well be related to a shamanistic exchange of wisdom. In the ancient stories, it is said over and over again that every shaman needs a special female being, an ayami, at his side, who is his coach, lends him helpful spirits whom she directs, and who speaks through his mouth during the rituals, i.e. he channels her. The shaman lives with his ayami like in a childless marriage, a marriage contract between the worlds. With a female shaman, the ayami is a male being, teaching her how to work as a shaman. I just had a thought how, no, I won't give him that amount of power, just like Batman intends. But it is kind of odd how my former lover, who I didn't speak to for the last 16 years of his life because he was a fucking monster, will pop in from time to time since his death in 2016 to haunt me and communicate with me. I don't think he's helping me to be a better shaman though. That man was dangerous and toxic when he was alive. He might be trying to redeem himself now though. I'll give him that much, since he's trapped between worlds because he was bound by his evil towards me. That's what happens when you do too much of the wrong thing by a person. Anyway, blessed be the Holy One, the true judge, Emmet. Getting very hot again. Well, current temperature is 23 degrees, and I've got the aircon on 23 degrees, so I wasn't really cooling myself down at all, was I? Oh, Mama too needs cooling. She won't be fooling, but she needs cooling. Anyway. From many communities in Central Asia, impressive stories about shamanic initiation rituals have been passed down through the ages. In these stories, the cauldron plays an important role. In order to become a shaman, the woman or man has to be killed by his or her ancestors and cooked in a magical cauldron until only the white bones remain. Well, my mother gnawed at me for decades with her filthy henchmen, paedophiles and con men and fucking assholes. So it was kind of the equivalent, maybe metaphorically, of being gnawed to death and leaving only the bones. The hollow bone from which all knowledge gets directed through and from. That's interesting. There's kind of a crackling noise near my drum. It's probably a gecko. Although to be fair, they usually only come out at night. Well, there's something in the walls, people of Earth. See? Mention my asshole progenitors and I get poltergeist activity. Kind of have to laugh. That's why I try not to mention them. They're not worthy of my energy or my time. They really aren't. Low-grade scum is what they were. All of them. All of them. Anyway. I was thinking it might be the pipe on the outside of the air conditioner on the outside of the house causing that crackling noise, but no, it was here right near my desk. A bit odd, but face everything and rise, people of Earth. They can rattle their bones, but the truth remains the truth. I never lie about my experiences with them. On rare occasions I even say lovely things about the few and rare and precious lovely things they did, because human beings are complex creatures. Sometimes they did nice, kind things that are worth acknowledging too. It's hard for me though. It's hard. Anyway. Right. New flesh will grow around the skeleton, and he or she will be reborn out of the cauldron of the cosmic primal ocean, the lap of the Great Mother. The Great Mother, Mother Nature, the Cosmic Mother. Not my mother, but God's. Although she too is related to the Great Mother. We all are. We're all connected ultimately, even the evil ones. It is what it is, people of Earth. Doesn't make sense, but you can't make sense out of nonsense. So you shrug your shoulders and you carry on. Vaingloriously and courageously and powerfully at times. Carry on, holding your own, wherever you are in the space-time continuum, whatever planet you find yourself. Just carry on. Although probably advanced alien civilizations can move in and out, back and forwards in time. Wouldn't surprise me. They probably have some kind of technology to do that. Nothing is ever what it seems. Never. There's more things out there than you can even imagine. People of Earth, with their limited human capabilities. Initiation can also take place by way of a serious illness. Just what I told my beautiful friend last year, that he was now technically a shaman or has shamanistic capabilities, having survived a very serious illness indeed. He looked at me a bit astonished, doesn't understand quite what I mean yet, but it will become apparent as he gets older. He's only a little bit younger than me. He's 47, he said. So it will come, and he'll have to calibrate that. It's hard to wrangle when it gets foisted upon you by a near-death experience or a serious illness. It takes time to, as I said, become aware of your newfound abilities. And it can be a bit frightening. So sometimes you need a bit of support. But not in every shamanistic culture is a shaman a healer who became a candidate shaman through such an illness. Initiation can be achieved through a ritual death in a state of ecstasy or trance, going into seclusion and fasting, or a life and death fight with a shaman animal in the wilderness. Shamanism is a lively system, changing all the time in its appearance, yet at its foundation remains a concept expressed in a variety of ways. In order to mature, one must let go of the old skin, evolve or die. Which sounds terrifying, but actually it isn't all that bad. It's just moving through that process, finding your feet, navigating through can be the terrifying part, but eventually you evolve or you die. And then you get kicked back to Earth, people of Earth, and you carry on and try and find meaning in your tribe and your beloved one that has your back, your front and your sides and adores and values and cherishes and respects you no matter what, no matter who. When you find that person, cherish and respect them also, because they're your one. They're your person. The juniper tree. Very long ago, well over 2,000 years from now, sorry, and spirit just popped in. If you see me looking behind my shoulder, it's because I'm being spoken to, and sometimes I share it with you and sometimes I don't. Because you're not supposed to interrupt my stories on YouTube. They're really not. It's a bit cheeky. But they were just saying to me that he's in my life now, teasing me along, you know. They like to tease me along. Give me hope. It's sweet. It's sweet until it becomes painful and toxic and destructive when I realise I've been played again, even by my own spirit people. They like to stir me up. I'm so easily stirred up. Well, because I have a lot of trauma issues. And it's only natural to want your own true love, even at this late stage of life. What else have I got going on, people of Earth? Really is quite tragic in many, many ways. So what do? Read stories and make jewellery and commune with my spirits and go dancing and try and live as full a life as I possibly can, given my limitations, which are many and varied by the gods. Anyway, he just yelled out, expansive, saying to me I'm not that limited as I think I am. This is true. I'm discovering that too in recent months. I've been feeling very distraught lately and very, very crushed and kind of another life experience. Evolve or die. Just hope to evolve so that I can be with my true beloved partner one day and someone that, evolves with me, shares life with me, together as a couple. Don't know who that person is yet, may not have met them yet, since, the man I love is not available. Just is what it is. Dear friend, as I said, I maintain all my friendships. Friendships are precious, but there's nothing wrong with wanting your own partner who loves you dearly, and there's nothing actually wrong with that. But knowing that it can't happen is a bit of a seeping wound, quite frankly. But it is what it is. Anyway, the juniper tree, where were we? Right, here we are. Very long ago, well over 2,000 years from now. So 2,000 years ago, I think she means. For a moment I read that as into the future, and she just said very long ago. Well, what did I say earlier about advanced alien races being able to move in and out of the space-time continuum? We just went on a little journey there. Right, I'm back. It's focus, people of Earth. There lived a rich man who had a beautiful, pious wife, and they loved each other very much, which is the greatest gift any human can have, to be loved very much. But they did not have any children. They always wished they had a couple of children, so the woman prayed day and night, but they remained barren. In front of their house was a yard, and in the yard stood a juniper tree. One winter, the woman was standing beneath this tree, peeling herself an apple. While doing this, she cut her finger, and the blood fell upon the snow. Ah! The woman sighed deeply as she gazed melancholically at the blood in the snow. I wish I had a child, red as blood and fair as snow. And while saying this, she suddenly felt so happy inside. It felt like it really would come true. Then she went back inside. When a month had passed, the snow was gone from the yard, and after 2 months the yard was green, and after 3 months the flowers grew out of the earth, and 4 months later all the trees blossomed, and the green twigs were all intertwined. In there, the birds were singing at the top of their lungs, and the blossoms fell from the trees. Then the 5th month had passed, and the woman once again stood under the juniper tree that smelled so good. Her heart jumped for joy. She fell on her knees and was completely out of her mind. And when the 6th month was over, the fruits were big and strong, and she became very silent. And in the 7th month, she took the juniper berries and ate them avidly. Then she became very sad and ill. The 8th month passed, and she called her husband and wept, saying, "Should I die, I wish to be buried beneath the juniper tree." This was a comfort to her and made her happy until the 9th month had passed. Then she gave birth to a child as fair as snow and as red as blood. And as she saw this, she was so happy that she died. So her husband buried her under the juniper tree, and he cried his heart out for a very long time. Then the crying lessened, and after he cried a little bit more, he stopped. After yet another while, he took another wife. With his second wife he had a daughter, but the child of the first wife was a boy. He was red as blood and white as snow. Why is it cheap? Goodness. Oh, it's stinging. My eyes are even stinging. What's that about, people of Earth? Who knows? When the woman looked at her daughter, she was filled with love. But when she then looked at the little boy, it was as if her heart was ripped apart, and it seemed the boy was always too much. She always thought about how she would leave all her fortune to her daughter. Then she would get into an evil mood and become very angry at the little boy, throw him from one corner to the other, punch him here and spank him there. So the child was always afraid. When he would come home from school, he could not sit quietly anywhere. Once, the woman was in the living room when the little daughter came in and said, "Mother, give me an apple." "Yes, Marlin," said the woman, and gave her a beautiful apple from the apple bin. But this bin had a big heavy lid with a big iron lock. "Mother," said the little girl, "shouldn't little brother have one too?" This grieved the woman, but she did not show this and said instead, "Yes, when he comes home from school." When she looked out the window and saw him coming, The evil spirit again got the best of her. Quickly she took back the daughter's apple and said, "You cannot have an apple before your brother gets one." And she threw the apple back into the bin and shut it up. As the boy came in, she asked him very sweetly, "My son, do you want an apple?" And then gave him a narrow look. "Mother," said the little boy, "why are you looking so angrily at me? Yes, please give me an apple." "Come along with me," she said, and opened the lid. "Just take out an apple." When the little boy bent over the bin, the evil spirit got hold of her again. Bang! She dropped the lid. The boy's head was jerked off and fell in with the red apples. This took her by surprise, and she wondered with great fear, how should I deal with this? Then she went to her room and took from the upper dresser drawer some white linen. She put the boy's head back on his body and bound the linen like a scarf around it, so nobody could tell what had happened. Then she put the little boy on a chair in front of the door and put the apple in his hand. Soon after, little Marlin came to her mother in the kitchen. But the mother stood by the fire with a pan of hot water in front of her that she was stirring steadily. "Mother," said Marlin, "little brother is sitting in front of the door and looks very pale. He has an apple in his hand. I asked him to give me the apple, but he does not answer, and I think it is very weird." "Go ask him again," the mother said, "and when he does not want to answer you, then hit him once behind the ears." So Marlin went and said, "Brother, give me the apple." But he remained silent. Then Marlin boxed him on the ear, and his head fell off. That shocked little Marlin deeply. She began to cry, went to her mother and said, "Alas, mother, I have knocked off my brother's head." She cried and wouldn't stop. "Little Marlin," said the mother, "what have you done? Keep your mouth shut so no one will notice. There's nothing anyone can do about it now. We will cook him in vinegar." The stepmother took the little boy, cut him into pieces, put these in a pot and cooked them in vinegar. Little Marlin just stood there and cried, and all her tears fell into the pot, so there was no need to add salt. Then the father came home, sat down at the table and asked, "Where has my son gone?" The mother served a very large platter with roast game, but little Marlin kept crying and wouldn't stop. Then the father asked again, "Where has my son gone?" "Oh," said the mother, "he has gone on a trip to great uncle. He wanted to stay there for a while and I couldn't stop him. What's he going to do there? He did not even say goodbye to me. He just likes being there and asked me if he was allowed to stay there for 6 weeks. He has been welcomed there." "Ah," said the man, "I am really sorry, but this is not right. He still should have said goodbye to me. Next he ate and said, "Little Marlin, what are you crying for? Your brother will come back, you know." "Ah, woman," he then said, "how nice the food is. Give me another load." And the more he ate, the more he wanted. And he said, "Give me more. You cannot have any more of it. Everything is for me." He ate and threw all the bones under the table until he had finished everything. But little Marlin went to her wardrobe, took from the lower drawer, her best silk cloth, assembled all the bones from under the table, bound them together in the silk cloth, laid them in front of the door, and wept bloody tears. When she had put the bones there, she suddenly felt a lot more at ease and did not cry any more. Suddenly the juniper tree began shaking, and the branches moved out and in like a happy person clapping his hands. While this was happening, a veil floated through the tree, and in the middle of this was mist. It looked like a burning fire, and out of this fire flew a beautiful bird that sang delightfully and flew high into the sky. Pardon me. When it was gone, the juniper stood as it did before, but the cloth and the bones were gone. Little Marlin, however, was very happy, as if her brother was still alive. She went back in, all cheerful, sat down at the table and ate. The bird flew away, lighted upon a goldsmith's roof, and began to sing. "My mother slaughtered me, my father ate me. My sister Marlin searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, lay them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me." The goldsmith sat in his workshop and was busy making a golden necklace. Then he heard the bird singing on his roof. It sounded so beautiful to his ears. Excuse me. He stood up, and when he crossed the threshold, he lost one of his slippers. But he continued walking with one slipper and a sock out into the street. He had his leather apron on. On his one hand he had the golden necklace, and in his other the pliers. The sun shone so brightly on the street. He chose a spot where he could best see the bird. "Birdie," he said, "how beautifully you can sing. Please sing that song one more time to me." "No," said the bird, "I never sing twice for nothing. Give me that golden necklace, then I will sing for you once more." "There," said the goldsmith, "you have the golden necklace. Now sing it one more time to me." Then the bird came, took the golden necklace in its right claw, sat before the goldsmith and sang, My mother slaughtered me, my father ate me, my sister Marlin searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, lay them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me. Then the bird flew away, sat on a shoemaker's roof, and sang. My mother slaughtered me, my father ate me, my sister Marlin searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, lay them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me. I want to cry because I want my Charlie back. Wow, she's at peace and safe in paradise with the rest of my pets now. Blessed be. When the shoemaker heard this, he went to his doorstep in his shirt sleeves, looked up to his roof and had to hold one hand above his eyes so the sun would not blind him. Birdie, he said, how beautifully you can sing. Then he called inside, wife, come out. There is a bird out here. Come see this bird that can sing so beautifully. He also called his daughter, his children and workmen, the apprentice and the servant, and they all came out onto the street to watch the bird. It was so beautiful. It had all red and green feathers, and around its neck was pure gold, and its eyes sparkled like stars. Bird, said the shoemaker, come, sing that song one more time to me. No, said the bird, I never sing twice for nothing. You have to give me a present. Wife, said the man, go to the shop. On the upper shelf is a pair of red shoes. Bring them out here. The woman went inside and fetched the shoes. Here, bird, said the man, now sing that song one more time to me. The bird came down, grabbed the shoes with its left claw, flew up again to the roof and sang. My mother slaughtered me, my father ate me, my sister Marlin searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, laid them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me. When he had finished singing, he flew away with the necklace in his right claw and the shoes in his left. He flew far away to a mill. The mill went click-clack, click-clack, click-clack. Inside the mill sat 20 lads who were hacking at a stone. Hick-hack, 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 while the mill went click-clack, click-clack, click-clack. The bird landed in a lime tree growing in front of the mill and sang, my mother slaughtered me. Then one lad stopped hacking. My father ate me. Another 2 stopped and listened. My sister Marlin. 4 others stopped. Searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth. Now 8 kept on hacking. Lay them under, now only 5. The juniper tree. Now only 1 left. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me. Then the last one stopped and had heard the last line. Bird, he said, how beautiful you can sing. Let me hear that also. Please sing it one more time. No, said the bird, I never sing twice for nothing. Give me the millstone, then I will sing for you once more. Well, he said, if it was mine to give, you could have it. Then the other said, if the bird sings once more, he can have it. Then the bird came down and all 20 miller lads lifted the millstone with levers. Her up, her up, her up. Then the bird put its neck through the hole and lifted it like it was a collar, flew up into the tree again and sang. My mother slaughtered me, my father ate me, my sister Marlin searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, lay them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me. When he stopped singing, the bird spread his wings, and in his right claw he had the necklace, in his left the shoes, and around his neck the millstone. With these he flew to his father's house. Below, in the room where the father, the mother, and little Marlin were sitting at the table, the father said, "Ah, suddenly I feel so nice and well." "No," said the mother, "I really feel scared, like heavy weather is near." But little Marlin just sat there, crying all over again. Then the bird came flying by, and when it sat on the rooftop, the father said, "I am feeling so happy inside, and the sun is shining so brightly out there. It feels just like I'm about to see an old acquaintance again." "Well, not I," said the woman. "I am so afraid. My teeth are rattling terribly, just like I have fire running inside my veins." And she pulled her cardigan loose. Little Marlin just sat in the corner and cried. She held a cloth to her eyes and cried the whole cloth wet. Then the bird sat in the juniper tree and sang, "My mother slaughtered me." This made the mother cover her and shut her eyes tight. Cover her eyes and shut them tight, for she did not wish to see or hear anything. So it should have said, cover her ears and shut her eyes tight, for she did not wish to see or hear anything. But in her ears the song wailed like a wild storm, and her eyes burned and she trembled as if hit by lightning. My father ate me. Ah, mother, said the man, there is a beautiful bird out there that sings so deliciously. The sun is shining so warmly, and it smells like pure mayflowers. My sister Marlin, then little Marlin, laid her head upon her knees and continued crying. But the man said, I am going outside. I have got to see that bird up close. Please don't go, said the woman. I feel like the whole house is shaking and about to go up in flames. But the man went outside and watched the bird, searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth, lay them under the juniper tree. Coo-wee, coo-wee, such a beautiful bird, that's me. While he sang, the bird dropped the golden necklace. It fell around the man's neck and it looked good on him. Then he went inside and said, Now look at what kind of beautiful bird this is. It has just given me this golden necklace as a gift, and it looks so nice. But the woman got so scared that she stumbled about the room and her bonnet fell off her head. Then the bird sang once more. My mother slaughtered me. Ah, if only I were 1,000 feet below ground, not having to hear this. My father ate me. The woman fell in a dead faint on the floor. My sister Marlin. Ah, said little Marlin, I want also to go outside to see if the bird will give me something. And she went outside. Searched for all my bones, bound them together in a silk cloth. The bird threw the shoes down, lay them under the juniper tree. Kiwi, kiwi, such a beautiful bird, that's me. Little Marlin was overjoyed. She put on the new red shoes, danced and jumped back into the house. Ah, she said, I was so sad when I went outside, and now I am happy. This really is a wonderful bird. It has given me a pair of little red shoes. No, said the woman as she leapt up, her hair standing on end like flames. I feel like the world is at its end. I too want to go outside. Perhaps I will feel better then. And when she went out the door, bang! The bird threw the millstone over her head, so she was completely crushed under it. The father and little Marlin heard this and went outside. Then they saw smoke and flames on that spot. When the smoke had lifted, there was little brother, who took his father and little Marlin by the hand. All three were happy again, and they went inside, sat at the table, and ate. Fairy Tale from Germany, collection Ludwig Bechstein or Bechstein. Right. 2 more stories to go. The man who died 3 times. Long ago, in the vast taiga, there were 700 people who lived in 700 yurts, tents. Over those 700 people in the 700 yurts reigned 7 brothers. All 7 brothers were married, but only one of them had a child, a son. And what were these brothers doing? Nothing but visit daily the 700 people and eating and drinking with them. And what did the son, the only child of the 7 brothers, do? Even less than nothing. He slept in the daytime and he slept at night. Been there. Got a t-shirt. Every morning, his father attempted to rouse him. Get up, he would say. Come along with us to visit the 700 people. And every morning the son turned over and slept on. But one morning, when his dad once more was trying to get him up to go with him and his brethren, his son answered, I'm getting intense vibes right now. Let me just check something. It's fucking intense. Honestly, it's very distracting. No, okay. It's not who I thought it was. Odd. 11 a.m. Let me just make a note of that. 11 a.m. on the 28th of March, 2025. Masculine energy. Right. Anyway, nothing to worry about. I'm just keeping awake and aware and observing people of Earth. It's coming with kind of a internal heat. Well, we'll put the aircon on. Let's not suffer too much. The slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. You have to laugh sometimes. You do. Right. But one morning when his dad once more was trying to get him up to go with him and his brethren, the son answered, Listen, father, just now in my dream there was a peculiar old man who had everything only in half. A half head, a half body, half limbs. The one-sided man told me that you will all die unless you will offer him 14 reindeer as a sacrifice. Only I will remain alive because I am always sleeping. Perished the thought, but also been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Anyway, when art imitates life, it's a little bit freaky, people there. His father only laughed mockingly and said, What do you know of the world? You know less than an old dog. You just are sleeping all the time. And the son turned over again and slept on. When he woke up the next time, it was all silent in the camp, although it was full daylight. He left the yurt and saw that his father and his 6 brothers and their wives, and also the 700 people and all the dogs and reindeer were dead. The young man was sad that the old man's prediction in his dream had come true. He took his dad's hunting spear and threw it among all the tents. Then he left. He walked for a long time until he came to a deserted camp. He was starved, but he found nothing edible in the snow except some bones that had been gnawed away by dogs. But while he was searching the snow, something glittering in the sunlight caught his eye. It was a set of silver drop earrings. He stowed away the earrings in his jacket pocket and followed the sledge track that led out from the camp. He had not gone far yet when he saw a sledge. On the sledge sat a beautiful girl who stopped when he drew near her. I'm being instructed, it was an idea that came to me yesterday, to paint little earrings. You know how I made those kalaka earrings that I hand painted trying to copy the design? It came to me yesterday I should make one of, my favourite pets that have passed over, little portraits of them, and do the same thing. Embed them in casting resin and make little earrings from them so I can keep my babies close to me even though they've passed on into the light. One of Beauregard and one of socks like I've got painted on that little chest of drawers behind me. Anyway, I'm thinking about it, but it popped in just now, reminding me the spirits want me to forge ahead with that project. I'll think about it though. It's a lot of work, and I excuse me. I already have earrings that I painted with socks and Sophie and is it Sophie and socks? Yes, Sophie and socks on them. But then I could make another pair, I guess, of Beauregard and Charlie. Why not? Why not, indeed? Something to do. Keep my babies close, even though they're only a nanosecond of thought away from me, but they're in another dimension now. Maybe one day, if the gods are kind, we'll be reunited someday in the spirit world when my time eventually does come. He stowed away the earrings in his jacket pocket and followed the sledge track that led out from the camp. He had not gone far yet when he saw a sledge. On the sledge sat a beautiful girl who stopped where he drew near her. "Say, were you just in our campsite?" "Yes, I only just came from there," said the young man. "Did you by any chance find my silver drop earrings?" "Yes, I did. They are here in my jacket pocket." "They are mine," said the girl. "Please give them back to me." "I will return them to you, but take me along on your sledge," said the young man. "I am so hungry and I am so tired that I will die on the spot if you do not take me along." The girl moved a little closer, and the young man sat next to her on the sledge. After a while, she curiously looked sideways and then said, "Who are you, and why do you travel on your own, without your family, across the taiga?" "I am the only son Sorry, I'll start that again. I am the only son of the oldest of 7 brothers, who reigned over the 700 people in the 700 yurts. They all died suddenly, their dogs and reindeer as well. Only I stayed alive. That is why I travel alone through the taiga. I heard about that, the girl said sadly. You know, last year your father visited my parents to ask if I could be your wife. My parents agreed to this gladly, and your father gave me these silver drop earrings, these reindeer, and the sledge we are riding on now. They arrived at the young girl's home settlement and lived there together as man and wife in a yurt. One day the nomads, with whom the young man was living now, wanted to break camp. So they loaded up all their belongings on the sledges, hitched their reindeer. The young man, however, had only weak reindeer and fell behind a little. When he finally caught up with them, they had already set up night camp. What took you so long? Asked one of the men. I cannot keep up with you with a set of weak reindeer, answered the young man. Then the man grabbed his spear and pitched it through the young man's chest. The young woman wept and grieved deeply all night long over her man's death, and that she was not able to help him any more. The next morning, when the group of people moved on, they could drag her along only by force. The dead young man was left behind on the sledge with the weak reindeer. Then the one-sided one from the young man's dream came to his sledge. He shook the dead body of the youngster and called out, "You have slept long enough. Get up now and ride home. Your father and his brothers and their wives and the 700 people and the dogs and reindeer are alive again." I won't say it. No, I won't say it. I'll keep that thought to myself, people of Earth. The young man sat up straight, wiped the sleep from his eyes, and thought, I have slept for a really long time and dreamed intensely. Quickly he drove his weak reindeer and went after the people with whom he had been living. When finally he had caught up with them, they had already set up night camp. What took you so long? Asked one of the men. I cannot keep your speed with a set of weak reindeer, answered the young man. Then the man grabbed his spear and pitched it through the young man's chest. Again his young wife wept bitterly and mourned him, but could do nothing for him. The next morning, when the group of people moved on, they could only persuade her with force to come along. Again the dead young man was left behind on his sledge with the weak reindeer. Again the one-sided one came to the dead young man, shook him forcefully, and shouted, "You have slept long enough. Get up now. Do not follow your woman, but ride directly home. Your father and his brothers and their wives and the 700 people and the dogs and the reindeer are alive again." But when the young man woke up, he did not listen to the advice of the one-sided one, but rode with his weak reindeer after his wife. Hardly had he set foot in the night camp when the man who had already killed him twice was there again. "What took you so long?" the man asked. "My reindeer are so weak. That is why I am so late," answered the young man. Then for the third time the man hurled his spear through the youngster's breast. I'd be getting a bit sick of that if I were him, by the way. Ouch! Just like I got a bit sick of motherfuckers strangling me by the time 3 times. Must be a magic number, mustn't it? By the gods. Men who were supposed to love me, wanting me dead. That's why my love life is the way it is. How could I ever trust in a man's love ever again? But I've got wonderful friends who consistently show me their deep, abiding love. And it's beautiful, people of earth. Beautiful. Inspires me that one day I will have a true love of my own. A man who doesn't want me dead, wants me alive, wants me by his side, thriving, prospering, joyfully and playfully and sweetly and kindly and nobly and honouringly. A real man with real heart, mind, body and soul, cleaving only to me. It's not a spell, but it's a wish and a manifestation I've been praying for 30 years. A man who is kind and protective of me, and proud and happy to be by my side. My man, my own man, because his love is real and authentic and generous and supportive and nurturing and kind and ennobling and, if necessary, protective. He's available to me of his own free will, by his own heart, mind, body, spirit and soul and emotions and intellect. Maybe next life, eh? Maybe next life. But Mama T doesn't let go of the men in her life who've been kind and honouring and sweet, or of the women either. Together we're a tribe of sorts. We're an odd sort of tribe. We're all a bit kind of odd and spiritual and creative and weird and unusual and quirky and amazing, magical, wonderful people. And I love you all. Those of you who genuinely love me back. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have you in my life, and I'm grateful to be in your life. Not that you've fully brought me into your lives because of circumstances, and I get it. I get it. It's okay. I'm okay. I can do this life alone. I've done it for 30 years. I'm okay. But I'm grateful for your sweetness and your love and your affection, your attention towards me. I am. Let me just repeat that last sentence. For the third time, the man held his spear through the youngster's breast. The young man lay stretched out, dead in the snow of the taiga, and the people moved on with his crying young woman. The one-sided one did not come back. Only the wolves came and gnawed at the flesh on his bones. Pardon me. When in springtime the sun had melted the snow, the one-sided one came and had a look at the young man's bones. He sighed deeply and spoke. "Why did you not follow my advice? I want to help you for the very last time." The one-sided one broke the bones into pieces, put these into a bag, and moved on until he came to a big stone. He removed the stone to reveal the entrance of a huge subterranean cave. There lived the souls of the people who had died a violent death. The souls were guarded by two monsters with giant eyes. The monsters sat silently around a fire in the centre of the cave. The one-sided one went to the fire, opened the bag and said, "Here, have some wood for the fire." Then the monsters threw the bones from the bag into the fire. The one-sided one waited until the bones were burnt to ashes. Next he spread the ashes on a bed of straw that was in a corner of the cave. He laid himself down next to the straw bed and fell asleep. When he woke up, the young man, reborn from the ashes, lay next to him. "If only you had directly followed my advice, you would not have been killed thrice," the one-sided one said. "And if your father had listened to me and sacrificed the 14 reindeer, none of his people would have died. But get up now and always follow the setting sun, so you will reach home," which is in the west, is it not? The setting sun. "When you are home, you will know what to do." The youngster followed the setting sun until at the end of the third day he arrived at the 700 yurts that the 700 people were living in, who were reigned by the 7 brothers, of whom his father was the eldest. There his father and mother and his young woman came to meet him, and behind them was the man who had killed him thrice with his spear, and behind him was the one-sided one. Without hesitation, the young man raised his spear and pierced the chest of the man who had killed him thrice. Only then he greeted his parents and his young woman. He also greeted the one-sided one, who, however, immediately said goodbye and stumbled on his one leg back to the taiga. The young man lived contentedly with the young woman in a yurt next to his parents. From then on, he only slept at night and in the daytime he went with his father and his 6 uncles to visit the 700 people in the 700 years. Story of the Enzis. The Enzis live in Siberia on the northern estuary of the Yenisei River, or Yenisei. Today, the Enzis are approximately 200 in number, living as nomads on the taiga. Got such an itchy nose today, I don't know why. A hunter on the taiga needs an area of about 150 square kilometres to feed a family. Thus, with some 200 persons and the accompanying 7,000 odd reindeer, they need an area about 30,000 square kilometres, an area as big as Wales. The male and female shamans of the Enzis were named according to their operating procedure, as Budoti, as Tijano, or as Savode. The Enzis named themselves the Enedzjian, meaning both human and speaking one. Just check. The second last story is called Fitch's Bird. Once there was a sorcerer who shape-shifted into a poor man, went begging from house to house, and kidnapped beautiful young females. Nobody knew where he took them because they never returned home. One day he stood at the door of a man who had 3 daughters. The sorcerer looked like a poor, weak beggar and asked for something to eat. When the eldest daughter came out and was about to hand him a piece of bread, he just touched her briefly, which made her jump into his knapsack. Next he hurried away with huge strides and took her to his home that stood in the middle of a dark forest. In this house, everything was fabulously beautiful. He gave her anything she ever wanted and said, "My dear, you will like it with me. Here you will have everything your heart desires." After a few days he told her, "I must go and have to leave you alone for a while. Here are the house keys. You can go everywhere and see everything, except for one little room locked with this little key that is strictly forbidden on penalty of death." He also gave her an egg and said, "Keep this egg carefully for me and carry it with you all the time, because if this egg is lost, it will bring very bad luck." She took the egg, the keys and the egg, and promised to comply with everything. After he had left, she went through the whole building from top to bottom and admired everything. The rooms were shining with silver and gold, and she knew for certain that she never had seen such pomp and splendour. Finally, she came to the prohibited room. She wanted to disregard it, but her curiosity got the better of her. She looked at the key, put it into the lock, and turned it a little, and then the door swung open. But what did she see when she entered? A large, bloody cauldron stood there in the centre, and in it were dead people chopped to pieces. Next to it stood a wood block with a gleaming axe upon it. She was so shocked that the egg she was holding in her hand dropped into the cauldron. Quickly, she took it out and tried to wipe off the blood, but in vain. No matter how much she wiped and scraped, she couldn't get it off. It did not take long before the man returned from his journey, and the first thing he did was reclaim the key and the egg. She handed both over, but she was trembling, and he immediately saw the red stains betraying her having been in the bloody chamber. "Did you enter that room against my will?" he asked. "Then you will enter there again against your will. Your life is over." He threw her to the ground, dragged her by the hair to the bloody chamber, cut her head off and chopped her into pieces so her blood drained away over the floor. Then he threw what was left of her into the cauldron. "Now I want to get the second one," said the sorcerer. Once again, disguised as a poor man, he went to the house and begged. There appeared the second daughter, who gave him a piece of bread. He grabbed her just like the first one, by just touching her briefly, and carried her away. She fared no better than her sister, because she also was tempted by her curiosity, opened the bloody chamber and looked inside, and had to pay for this with her life when he returned. Now he went to get the third one, but she was clever and sly. When he had given her the key and the egg and had departed, she first carefully put away the egg. Then she looked around the whole house and finally entered the forbidden room. Ah, what a terrible sight! Both her sweet sisters were lying there in the cauldron, deplorably murdered and cut into pieces. But she assembled all the body parts into the right arrangement: head, body, arms, and legs. And when nothing was missing, the body parts began moving and were attached, and both girls opened their eyes and were alive again. They were so happy, they kissed and embraced. Upon his return, the man immediately demanded both the keys and the egg back. And when he could not find a trace of blood on these, he said, "You have passed the test. You will become my bride." He now had no power over her any more, and had to do what she demanded. "Well," she said, "first you have to carry a basket full of gold to my father and mother. Carry it by yourself on your back to them. Meanwhile I will prepare the wedding." Next she went to her sisters, who she had hidden in a small room, and said, "Now is the moment I am able to save you. The villain himself will carry you home, but as soon as you are home again, Sorry, my friend's trying to call me, but I'll call him back when I finish the story. But as soon as you are home again, send help my way. She put both of them in a basket and covered them with gold so they could not be seen. Then called the sorcerer in and said, "Now carry the basket off, but on your way you are not to stand still or rest. I will look through my little window and see everything." The sorcerer lifted the basket on his back and carried it away, but he had so much trouble carrying it. The sweat ran all over his face. Then he sat down and wanted to rest for a while, but right away someone yelled out of the basket, "I am looking through my little window and see you are resting. Now you go on immediately." He thought the bride was calling to him, so he got up and struggled on. Once more he wanted to sit down, but instantly the voice sounded again. "I am looking through my little window and see you are resting. Now you go on immediately." And as soon as he stood still, he was yelled at again and had to continue until finally, groaning and out of breath, he had brought the basket of gold and both girls home to the parents. But in his own home, the bride-to-be prepared the wedding celebration and sent the invitations out to the sorcerer's friends. Then she took a death's head with grinning teeth, decorated it with jewellery and a flower garland, and carried outside to a hole in the ground, in front of which she placed it facing out. When everything had been prepared, she put herself into a barrel of honey, then got out and cut a feather bed open and rolled herself through the little feathers. Pardon me. So she looked like a peculiar bird, and no one would recognize her. Then she left the house, and on the way she met some of the wedding guests, who asked, "Hey, Fitch's bird, where do you come from?" "I come from Fed Fitch's home." "What has the young bride been doing there?" "She has cleaned the house from top to bottom and now is looking out of the entrance, ready and welcoming." Finally, she also met the groom himself, who was walking back slowly. He asked, just like the others, "Hey, Fitch's bird, where do you come from?" "I come from Fred Fitch's home." "What has the young bride been doing there?" "She has cleaned the house from top to bottom and now is looking out of the entrance, ready and welcoming." The groom saw the hole with the decorated skull, which he thought was his bride, and he nodded and greeted her warmly. When, however, he had entered the house with his guests, the bride's brothers and family arrived to come to her rescue. They closed off all doors of the house so nobody could escape and set it on fire, and so the sorcerer and all his evil friends were burned. Germany, Brothers Grimm collection. The last story of this chapter is called The Man Who Fell Asleep. Deep inside a big forest was an ancient castle in which a beautiful princess had been imprisoned by magic. The princess could only be liberated by a prince who had to be exactly 20 years of age, from the tribe of Henry the Lion. Also, the prince had to lose his way during the hunt, and so wandered deep into the woods. Now it happened that one of Henry the Lion's sons, who just had his 20th birthday, was hunting in this neighbourhood, and got more and more lost in the forest with the enchanted castle, until at long last he was overtaken by nightfall. For a moment he glimpsed a little light glittering in the distance. That was where he went, and finally came to a high gate, climbed over it, and then ascended the steep staircase leading to the castle. Thus he went into the castle, and looked immediately for the room from which he had seen the light shining. Oh, that was perhaps the male energy I was picking up on at 11 o'clock. It was my friend Jared thinking about calling me. Yes, that makes sense. I thought it was someone else, but no, that must have been him. So see, ding, ding, ding went the bell. Not quite off my trolley after all. I like it when I get validation like that. It's funny though, because it felt like I normally recognise Jared's energy differently. So maybe I'm not quite cooking on gas today. Yes, interesting. Let me just check something. Interesting. Both energies were blended, and that's why I couldn't quite work out who that was. I'm getting good, aren't I? Getting good. Opening up more and more. How will that benefit me? I don't know. But I'm in service to the gods, so perhaps it benefits others, if not myself. So there is that, my beloved ones. Right, where was I? For a moment, I might repeat this because I think I'm repeating, but anyway, I got a little bit lost there, distracted by energy. It's really distracting for me at times. For a moment she glimpsed a little light glittering in the distance. That was where he went, and finally came to a high gate, climbed over it, and then ascended the steep staircase leading to the castle. Thus he went into the castle and looked immediately for the room from which he had seen the light shining. Finally he found the room and opened the door. In this room sat a very beautiful princess. She was dressed splendidly and sat with her head in her hand. A number of cats were her servants. It's unusual. Never got any of my cats to be servile to me. They've always acted like they're Egyptian gods and goddesses. And then the tea served them handsomely. I love my cats. I miss them all terribly. When she caught sight of the prince, she asked what he wished. He told her. Penny just came and stood beside me. Yes, you especially, my beautiful girl, my blessed beautiful girl, my daughter Penny. He told her that he had lost his way during the hunt and by chance had come to this place. The princess then asked from which tribe he was. He answered he was a son of Henry the Lion. How old are you? She asked next. 20 years, he answered. Then you can liberate me, she said. Very gladly, was his answer. But it will be very difficult, she said, because you have to endure 3 painful nights. 3 nights in a row, you have to sleep in the centre of the church behind this castle, and every night you will be cut to pieces by spirits. The next morning a little deer will come with a glass of oil in its mouth. This deer will assemble all your bones, lay these in the right arrangement and spread a little oil over them. Then the bones will reassemble and be enveloped with flesh. As soon as this is done, you will be alive again. The prince decided to carry out the liberation and immediately set to the task. He entered the church, laid down on the bed there, and soon fell quietly asleep. After he had slept for a while, someone hit the pulpit forcefully, which woke him up. Then the knives were sharpened and the spirits surrounded his bed. One of them put its ear to his mouth to make certain that he was sleeping. He pretended to be asleep and did not move. Next they lifted him from the bed and laid him on a block with the 12 of them around it. They all had knives in their hands. The master stood at the head with 2 others on both sides next to him. The master shouted, "Hold!" and they chopped off his head. Then the other spirits cut him into pieces and gnawed the bones completely clean. The next morning, the young deer came with the glass in its mouth, collected the bones, laid them linked together, dabbed some oil on all bones, and within half an hour the prince was brought back to life. He now went to the princess, but did not find her. Instead he found a big cat, which she had been turned into. The next 2 nights, exactly the same process that happened to him the first night was repeated. On the 4th night, he lay down to rest. When he woke up the next morning, the princess, who had turned back into a human again that night, sat by his bed and had only little girls around her. Those were the cats, who had all returned to human form. The princess asked him to get up and walk with her around the castle for a while, because she had something important to tell him. He got up, got dressed, and walked with her around the castle. While walking, she told him, "My homeland and my parents are very far away. My parents live on the other side of the red, white, and black seas, where my father is king. When I was only 6 years old, I was kidnapped by a man and brought here. I very much would like you to come to my homeland, and that is why I ask you not to go to sleep this afternoon, because then a fiery chariot tied up with 2 fiery horses will come to pick me up and take me through the air. This will happen 3 afternoons consecutively. If you happen to be negligent on the first 2 days and are sleeping those afternoons, please be at least on the alert the 3rd afternoon, and do not doze off, because if you happen to sleep again, you will never see me again." This he promised her. The first 2 afternoons he was not watchful, but let himself sleep. The 3rd afternoon, however, he definitely wanted to stay awake, but an old woman came to him and offered him a cup of wine, which he took and drank. As soon as he had drunk the wine, in which a strong sedative had been added, he fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, on the table before him was written, "Beloved groom, we will not see each other again. Be well." He got up, buckled on his sword, fetched his horse from the stable, and rode off because he had set his mind on riding as long as it would take to get him to where the father of his bride was king. So he rode endlessly, but could not even find the 3 C's that the princess had told him about. Finally, he met someone who possessed a horn with the peculiarity that when it was sounded, all the animals of the world would come. He asked the man urgently if he would call together all the animals of the world and ask if they knew where the red, white, and black seas were situated, but not one single animal knew. At the very last moment, a roaring lion arrived, and of him was asked the same question. He answered that he knew the 3 C's, and moreover he said that he was willing to take the prince there. He was only allowed to bring some food and ordered to stay on the lion's back. The prince sat down on the lion's back, and they took off. When the prince arrived at the Red Sea, there were pirates who tried to pull him off the lion's back, but the lion lacerated them all and swam with the prince across the sea. On the other side, they slept. The next morning, they went on their way to the White Sea. When they had reached the shore of the White Sea, again there were pirates, but the lion mangled them too and swam across the sea. Then he rushed across the land, came to the Black Sea, crossed that sea also, put down the prince and swam back. The prince continued by himself now and met a poor man. He gave this man a gold coin and asked him if the lost princess had arrived there and if she had been married already. The beggar answered that she was about to marry in 2 days. The prince went on his way immediately and arrived at the capital of the land where the king lived. He entered an inn and asked the innkeeper if that afternoon he could hire a red wagon with red horses. My horse was red. She was a chestnut mare with palomino mane and tail, meaning cream-coloured. Oh, I miss her, even after all these many, many years, 36, almost 37 years since I parted with her. Powerful spirit she was too. The landlord answered that he himself owned such a wagon and horses. Then yoke them now, the prince told him. When the wagon was ready, the prince took off and rode 3 times around the king's palace and then returned to the inn. The next afternoon, he again rode 3 times around the castle. Upon this, the gate was opened for him, and the road had been sprinkled with flowers. Nevertheless, he did not enter the palace garden, but returned to the inn. Now the princess wondered, might this be my previous groom? On the third afternoon, the prince rode again around the palace. When he had made one round, the bells were already ringing for the wedding, and the wedding procession was about to come through the garden gate. At this moment, the prince was not able to restrain himself any more. He jumped from his wagon, flung his arms around the princess's neck, and told her that he really would like to speak with her in private, upon which she instantly went into the castle with him. There he asked her, "Don't you recognize your former bridegroom any more?" As she heard these words,